Hello all. In today's session, we are going to discuss an important topic, which is NAT gateway. So, Address Translation Gateway is a type of gateway which enables any instance launched in public subnet or connected in a public subnet to access the internet for downloading updates or for accessing API calls. So for this, I have created two instances. So let me show you. The first instance is created in public subnet. So I have the public IP address which is given for my instance, and there is a private IP address which is given for this instance. And this instance is hosted on a public subnet, which means when I am creating the instance, I have to enable auto assign public IP, which will be assigning the public IP for me. After that, I continued creating another instance, which is shown here. So if I click on to the instance, without enabling public IP address, which means only the private IP address is given to the instance. And the first instance is launched in a default VPC, in a custom VPC in the public subnet. And the second instance is launched in the custom VPC, which is VPC2, that is in the private subnet, which means the auto assigned IP is disabled for this subnet. Hence, I don't have the public IP for this particular instance. So if I try connecting my first instance, if I go ahead with connect, so I would be able to establish the connection where I have to download the RDP, I have to upload the private key or the key pair, and I have to give the password, and hence I would be able to log into my virtual machine. So you can see the public IP is 13.59.97.153. We can check it over here, which is 13.59.97.153. So if I try accessing internet from this instance, which is a public instance in public subnet, so I can just go click on Edge browser, or I can even go ahead with giving ping from command prompt. So start without syncing data, confirm and continue without Google data, confirm and start browsing. So I can access the internet from here. So if I give google.com, I would be able to access from the public subnet, which is having the instance, which is again a public instance. Now if I try accessing from the second subnet, which is in private, which is a private instance, I wouldn't be able to connect through the RDP, even though we have configured the security group. So if I go to the security group of first instance, I have to go to security here. So the first instance inbound rule will be allowing HTTP, HTTPS and RDP. So that is allowed already. So I am getting back to the instance. Now if I go to the private instance, if I click on the private instance, if I go to the security tab here, Now, if I click on the security groups here, I can see that the RDP is enabled, HTTP is enabled, and HTTPS is enabled. But I don't have the public IP for this. So I can access this instance, which is in private subnet, from the public instance that was created earlier. So how do we do that? So I have to go to remote desktop. So let's open it. And I can give the private IP. So let me close these tabs in the public instance. So let's connect to the private IP. So I have given the private IP of my second instance, which we can check it here. So the instances and the private IP is given here. Hence I've given the same here. So I have to connect with this, and it would be asking for the credentials, which is the username and password. So I have to give the password. So in order to do that, I have to connect with it. I have to download the RDP client. I don't have to download the RDP client. I can just get the password. Click on get password. Upload the private key which was generated while launching the instance. So I have it with me. Private key. Decrypt the password. So we have the password here. We already have the username which is taken automatically by itself. So I'll paste the password here. I'll go ahead with OK and click yes. So now I can see the second instance is opened here. So let me try accessing it again. So I had already configured the NAT and hence it is showing the cache here. But we wouldn't be able to access it from the private subnet. Or let's try accessing. Yeah, now we are not able to access it because this doesn't have any public address associated with it. It just got its private IP, and there is no address translator associated with it even. So for this particular instance, to connect to the external internet without IGW, which is our internet gateway, and when this instance wants a secured form of connection for just enabling the outbound, not the inbound traffic, then we can go with something called NAT gateway. That's the purpose of NAT gateway. So how do we configure it? So let's get back to the console. So just type VPC over here, open it in a new tab. So under your virtual private cloud, we have the gateways available to us. So in the previous session, we had already seen how the internet gateway is configured and how to attach it with the current VPC. So we have something here called NAT gateways. So click on NAT gateways. So this was the gateway which I created earlier. In fact, we're not going to use it. We're going to create a new gateway. So I have to detach this gateway. It is already deleted. Okay, I'll create a new gateway. Create NAT gateway. I'm gonna give a name to the NAT gateway as demo 1 NAT NGW. So let me give it as NGW. We have to select the subnet to which this has to get connected to, which is it is shown here. So it is not the public. So it is going to be the public. It is not going to be the private. The private subnet is having the instance, but we cannot connect with the private instance here, subnet here. In order to access the internet, we have to connect it with the public subnet. So let's connect it with the public subnet. Let the connectivity type be public. Now we need a public IP to fetch the data from the internet to the private instance. So this private instance is not assigned with any public IP, and hence we need a public IP. So for that, we can go ahead with this option of elastic IP allocation. So just click on allocate elastic IP. So this would be enabling a public IP for this particular private instance that will be mapped to the private IP in the network address translation further in the PAT, which is the port address translation. So let's go ahead with create NAT gateway. So let's get back to NAT gateway here. So this will take some time to get created. And NAT gateway is one of the costliest type of gateway available for us. So the pricing is also going to be pretty much higher when an enterprise or organization is opting for NAT gateway. So once the NAT gateway is done, then we may have to go to the route table to configure the route. So the private subnet has to have the appropriate route to get connected to the internet. So the gateway that we are using to get connected to the internet is NAT gateway, which we just configured. So we have to point our private subnet to go to NAT gateway to access the internet to just allow only the outbound traffic. So now the gateway is available for us. So once this is done, let's go to the route table. So let me go to the private route here, custom VPC private route, which I already have. We did it in the previous laboratories. So edit routes. So add route. So give NAT gateway. So this will give us the gateways we had created. So the second one is the one which is recently created, NGW. I'm going to click that and I'm going to save the changes here. Now get back to NAT gateway. Click the NAT gateway, go to actions. Okay, so it is already done. So we don't have to do anything. Okay, so fine. The route is added now. Now let's go to the RDP. Let's call the remote desktop protocol from here. So we already have the recent one which is accessed. So let's directly go to connect. So this is gonna ask the password. So we have to get back to the console again. So this is the private IP is here. So take the password from here. So paste it here. S. Now let's try accessing Google because we have configured NAT gateway. Yes, so this is successfully enabling us to access the internet, which is the outbound traffic, using the NAT gateway, which is purely performing network address translation of allocating an elastic IP, which is a public IP, to the existing private IP and fetching the resources for us. So that's about NAT gateway. Thank you.